Imagine a vibrant discussion between people that includes both openness and critical thought in the pursuit of truth. The Purchasing Truth podcast is an experience, a journey, an exploration of the impact that negative messages in politics and the media have on our families, community, society, and nation. Join your hosts, Bill Stierle and Tom Hazard, to discover new concepts and language strategies that will reveal effective ways of establishing truth. This podcast series will tackle current events, leadership challenges, healthcare confusion, integrity in business, and many other areas that affect us all. Gain clarity and understanding of the various truth perspectives. Welcome to Purchasing Truth.
Hey everyone, welcome to Purchasing Truth. I'm Tom Hazard, along with your host, Bill Stierle. And, Bill, I really like what we do in this podcast in, really analyzing language and communication and discussing how it can be used to purchase truth. And a lot of times we get into political conversations, which I think is only natural. But while we're probably going to do that again today, I really like the example of what's happening in our country and in the world with the coronavirus, COVID-19.
Yes.
Where we can see, truth being purchased, language not, being used in certain ways and not being used in other ways.
Yes.
And the consequences of that. So I'm excited to talk with you about that today.
Yes. And the biggest challenge that we're facing as communicators to message to people, that we're speaking to the leader, to the citizen that is listening for perspective, guidance, information, clarity, trust, truth. There's some really, really important needs that if you just give a general and a optimistic narrative, the person is sitting with more doubt and more skepticism and more confusion because, the best way to say this, Tom, is it's like when a parent tries not to tell a child too much and the child wants to know a little bit more, but the parent doesn't ask what the child wants to know. The parent talks too much or talks too little, and it leaves the listener going like, no, I don't believe that, or I'm trying to trust you, but you're not giving me the information I want. So, for example, if a kid says, Mom, when something dies, does it go to heaven? Now, all of a sudden, the parent wants to go into a monologue of a theological discussion about heaven and where it goes and what we know, what we don't know, what is a belief and what not a belief, instead of asking the question, tell me a little bit more about what you're thinking. Or the parent goes into what happened to grandpa 2 years ago because the parent is not asking the listener or have a perspective of it. So if the parent asks a second question, so what are you thinking about heaven and what would you like to know? Well, I saw this dead bird outside. And then the entire discussion is not theological anymore. It's biological. It's not a theological discussion about heaven. And there's a little bit of, theological piece because the word heaven is in there. You can say, yes, and this is what we do to care for the animal that has just passed, and we bury it and we say some nice things about the animal because we really want to care about animals in our environment, and then you got a box and you bury it with the kid, you're like good to go. And the kid's going, they're happy and they're walking away. Now, how does this apply to something in real time, something that we do need truth and we do need facts about, called a virus, called a pandemic, and international pandemic? We need to find good information. And I was just talking with a client earlier today where she was anxious, nervous, worried, scared, almost to the point of panic, because she's going like, well, I haven't been watching the news much. How bad is it? And I go, well, what do you need to know? What would you like to know? I had to answer it. I couldn't go into, hey, I'm going to go after facts. I need to deal with her anxious, nervous, worried, scared first. So you would like some certainty. I'm guessing you would like some trust. I guess you're looking for some clear information about the perspective. You'd write, because literally she had all of these different fragments of different people saying things. Her ex-husband overreacting, her parent reacting and providing information, but only partial stuff. The people at school in the stuff talking, and she's going like, hey, listen, I'm just trying to deal with being a single mom right now. I got my 12-year-old freaking out. Is this a real freak out or is it not a freak out? And she's got her own stuff about, safety, but her ex is like way off the chart, wanting to duct tape windows.
Oh my goodness.
He's one of those guys, right? So again, what we do then is we look to meet our need for clarity and certainty and trust by talking about what does clarity look like? What does certainty look like? What does trust look like? And talk about the difficulties in those concepts. Here's the difficulty. If a politician just could get the hold of this video and just lead with the value you need to reduce the emotion about. Here's the certainty that we have at this moment from the things that we have measured. Start there. Here's what we measured. Now look at how you just took a breath of fresh air. You just went, oh my God, please feed me that food. Your body just went, yes, I would like that truth. Does that make some sense? I mean, yeah.
It does. And I think one of the things people have a need for certainly certainty and protection. And one of the things I'd like us to touch on here, Bill, is how the president has said, anybody who needs a test is going to get a test. And these tests are beautiful. I mean, I don't know why the heck a test needs to be beautiful, to be honest with you. But yeah, I mean, he talks about everybody's going to get a test. And what did the Ohio governor say when asked about tests?
Yeah, and here's where it gets really unsettling is that the Ohio governor, who happened to be Republican, when he was asked about tests, how many tests you have, and we've heard that it's been hard for the states to get the number of tests they need. How many do you have? Now, instead of saying and doing scary honesty right there in the moment, yes, we are behind on getting the test kits that we would like. We are assessing the most dangerous or the most urgent cases and using the tests there first. And we are making recommendations to work around until we get the number of tests that we would like. Instead of saying all of that, he said, well, I really felt good about what the president said last night, and to give the nation reassurance about that he's in front of and the administration is in front of, I'm loosely paraphrasing here, that we're doing what we can at the federal level, and then immediately just shifted to, we just want to make sure that our healthcare workers are protected and our things like this. And he moved like he pivoted to things he wanted to talk about rather than really doing a thing called scary honesty and just stepping into it and go like, yeah, we didn't get it this, but at this time we're now treating this thing very seriously here at the local level, and we're getting the numbers that we need. And then,
so he didn't answer the question.
He didn't answer
as
the question.
To how many tests they have. Are they getting enough tests? He completely avoided it.
Yeah, just like a parent, in a difficult discussion about death, they don't want to talk to their children about death because it's a scary thing. It messes with certainty. until you find out what part of death are they looking for, and then you can work from where they are. In this case, is just give me some scary honesty about, hey, did you get the tests you need? And say, and yeah, I mean, we're Americans and we can manufacture things very quickly. And, pretty soon there'll be just as many flags as you want, just as many kits as you would like, just as many things. Once we figure out, and there are many, many skilled people. I mean, the biggest challenge, just to be a little confident about what we do as Americans, is that one of the wonderful things about having when we had a stronger manufacturing base is that during World War II, we just shifted all the car factories over into tank factories. We just retooled and we started scaling, which the other countries could not scale, because we know how to scale. we know production. Now other countries are getting much better at it, because but in World War II we scaled tanks, we scaled weapons, we scaled. We had plenty of stuff to go for the long run because we know how to make stuff in the past. Now we're outsourcing a lot of that, and that's a whole nother discussion about truth. But we know how to engage the production of. And so that governor sitting at the front lines, all he had to do was trust our ability to scale. Hey, we're Americans. We can make things. These things will be in a very short amount of time. We're a little light right now, but really we have a lot of certainty about it. Instead, he went, three-card Monte, going like, don't look at the queen. Where's the queen? I don't know where the queen is. Do you know where the queen is? It's there. I don't know. So very, very unsettling, and regrettably, it doesn't create the level of leadership and confidence and stability I would like to see coming out of our leaders' mouths regarding communication. They're communicating in a silo. They're communicating in a very narrow, problematic way to really have the correct level of messaging that's necessary. They don't do it, so, and they're protecting party instead of bringing facts and doing honesty. They're protecting the image of leadership rather than the reality of leadership. And that's really, really difficult. You gotta do the reality. You can't. And I believe it's gonna show up in the voting booth on November. But it's like, we're just tired of listening to stuff that's not true. We're tired of the adult part of us is tired of listening to half answers. We're tired we're tired of being sold like Home Shopping Network in our policies and our politics. Yeah, it's going to be good. It's really good. You really need to get this. You need to get this now. You need to buy this product right now. There's only 37 of them left. That's Home Shopping Network narrative.
Right.
Really, it's scarcity, but it's really the best. It's a beautiful test. It's a beautiful test. It's like that's a sales, marketing, branding message for something that is not life-threatening. You don't you don't mix public safety and public stability and public confidence. But regrettably, Tom, if we are going to speak, purchase truth back, we've got to realize what has happened to us as Americans, as a nation, is that we've been sold so much that we're desensitized that we're being sold again. And once somebody's sold on something and has bought something, just like the thing that's in your garage that you keep keeping for years and years and years that you can't throw out, and you voted for that thing in the garage, and you put your life energy in that, the person doesn't want to vote away from that. They don't. So it's very, very challenging just even to talk about this. Yeah. Anyway, so what were some of your thoughts about the president's speech and how it came off? Because I think you were listening to it.
Yeah, I listened to it on the radio because
Yeah.
I was driving at the time. I heard the whole thing. And to me, the president has these tells, and you always know when he's being authentically him and just speaking off the
Right.
cuff, or when he's reading a prepared speech. And he was clearly reading a prepared speech, was very stiff. The tone of his voice was very different. He even has a way that he breathes through his nose to inhale a breath in between certain, parts of speech. And you can tell that he's not being himself. He's reading something he was told to read, and this is what you need to do to try to, comfort the nation or whatever it needs to be. And so to me, it was very inauthentic.
Right.
And I didn't really, there are certain facts that I believed, like starting Friday, they're stopping all flights from Europe to the United States. Okay, I know they're going to do that, and he can do that with an executive order. But then there are some of these things he's talking about, economic stimulus to help,
right,
counter the impact of the virus on our economy, where allowing, extending the deadlines for filing taxes, business taxes, maybe he'll do that. But when it comes to the money, the amount of money that he was saying is going to be put into the economy to help, almost $200 billion, based on, these are just things he was proposing. Congress still would have to actually pass these laws,
right,
and he'd have to sign it for it to become real. So I thought that was, in a way, something he was trying to sell to the American people and to Congress that is needed, but he wasn't doing his normal marketing and salesmanship, which is just him, being free with how he's talking. So I felt like he was doing something he was told he needed to do, not something he wanted to do.
So the need for authenticity is not met when someone is not congruent with their strength or what's inside of them, as well as they're conveying something that they're not fully on board behind. He has made a living, a life, and has gotten a lot of respect and recognition and acknowledgement by the strategies that he has used up to his life, through his life, and up to this point. And so when some expert says to him, say it this way and do it this way, he immediately thinks to himself, you know what? This expert doesn't have the millions of dollars that I have. This expert doesn't have all the choices I have. This expert doesn't have all the ability to get all this stuff done the way I've been doing, because that is one of the situational consequences of a person that has an extensive income that hasn't never had to work through the challenges of being in a real relationship with another person to see what's best, or even to lead a group, other than delegate and fire people because the person is not doing the thing they delegating, even though the person is trying to make the best decision and they're listening to a wrong decision. He would fire them on even if they give them honesty. I mean, the thing that just was recent is that the former Homeland Security says the emergency rooms are going to get creamed, or whatever his quote was. They're going to be so overwhelmed. They're going to be creamed in 10 days. It's
Right.
like, and this is his former guy. Why is it his former guy? Because the president has difficulty listening to what truth is, because he wants the truth to be his way. The
Right.
truth is to be his way. I want my truth to be noticed and picked up upon. And then at this moment, having, people to be accountable for that is that there's one thing you can't fire. You cannot fire a virus that is killing Americans. Can't fire that. You can't say, scientists, you need to work quicker to get a vaccination, a thing, and they say, yeah, it's going to take about 18 months. He's looking at it, go like, 18 months? Why does it take you so long? I'm a smart person. I can get it done in 3 months or 2 months. Why can't this? He did the same thing with the people at NASA. Can we get to Mars this year? During my presidency, can we get to Mars? And they're looking at him going like, the planets aren't in alignment. They're way too far away. We don't have it up. We don't have the technology and the fuel. We don't even have a moon base to launch up of. If we wanted to, that would be the best place to get to Mars from, not to start from Earth. You got to start from a place that isn't as hard, and you can make your fuel when you get to the moon. You make fuel there, so again, very, very, very challenging to support a person that has a silo mind that thinks about certain things in one way, and has a belief that I can sell, market, and brand whatever answer I want to have, and I can bring it into fruition. People told me I couldn't build, a hotel here, and I built it. Well, yeah, but you fired a bunch of people along the way. You overspent on several, key components, and it's this big thing that is only 50% occupancy because there's no market research that that's a good idea financially to put a hotel in that city. I mean, he has hotels like that,
I'm sure he does. Well, that's where they've been saying he has
difficult.
never really been tested with a major natural disaster or something that he has no ability to control. And this is the thing that he does not have an ability to control. He's trying to. I read a report that in the earlier stages of this virus, that there are certain cabinet members, whether it's maybe Health and Human Services Secretary or whatever, it's some people within the administration, were not allowed to come out to the press, speak to the press, give their opinion as to exactly what's happening without first having the White House approve it.
Yes.
And that's pretty scary. That's a president trying to control the narrative and market and brand his way through this crisis, that the reality is you can try to mitigate the problems as much as you can, but you cannot control it.
He said it was going to be over very soon. That's what he said. Now, here's the weird part about this. Whenever it's over, whenever the numbers start to drop, he will claim victory at that point. It's very similar to George Bush going on the carrier and putting up the sign, "Mission accomplished."
Right.
It's like, mission accomplished. We have half the military over there in the nation still fighting, the war, and still propping up the government that we have over there.
Yeah, it had barely begun at that point.
Barely begun. It was like, you want to do nation building, in this place, and we do, get into things, and we the Americans do two things really terribly. One of the things that we do is we don't necessarily know how to run a marathon with a complex issue. We don't. Okay. Healthcare. We do not know how to run this marathon of healthcare, because right now it's sprint and crash in various different environments with different hospitals and different, people along the way just sucking the air out of the medical industry, and taking profits where they really shouldn't be taking profits, and sticking it to the insurance company or the taxpayer or whatever. So anyway, getting truth back on our side is being able to say, here is what efficiency looks like. Here is what value looks like. Here's one way to increase, the economy in order to make it more profitable for all concerned. So, even with, government run socialized medicine, there's ways to make it mindful to build in a viable economy that doesn't gouge the end user. There's ways to do that, but they're not talking that way. They still want the gouging system to be in place. And just, no, we're just gonna expand this thing, instead of, doing a better job of what's best for the nation as a whole. And I'm curious about the upcoming debates on how these two Democrats are going to message the problems. How are they going to team up to message the real problems that, hey, not only are that guy is not going to be around, but also here's a strong vision forward. And, Tom, that could be a really good place for us to pick up next for it, is that what can they do or what didn't they do? Because we'll be probably post it now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
What did they do, and where did they miss the opportunity to vision? And they did not vision the way they needed to.
That will be very interesting. I'm curious to see how it happens. Did you see Joe Biden's speech on Tuesday night from Philadelphia after it wasn't Super Tuesday, but the next Tuesday, right?
Yeah, right. Sure.
He definitely spoke with empathy and compassion toward Bernie Sanders supporters.
He did.
And I was impressed.
He did. He did take the step to unify. He did take the step to say, listen, you guys are voting for something, and I'm seeing that you're voting for something. You did not vote for me. You voted for him. And because you voted for him, because he's standing for something you would like, and you would like him. Well, I'm really interested in hearing how that could work, because we are all in this together. It really essentially was kind of in that spot.
Yeah. Which I thought was a very, he was being the adult in the room, the leader, I felt like. In that moment. So it'll be interesting to see how much of that Joe Biden shows up in this debate. And if Bernie Sanders is more just going to try to advocate for that which he believes in, or is he going to try to attack and take down Biden? I suspect he may not try to take down Biden as much,
Right.
I'll be interested to see how that plays out.
Yeah. And Bernie's saying the right things. He says, listen, the people that are voting for me are young, and the people that are voted for you are older. And because of that, the nation's moving in this direction, and you better get on board.
Yeah.
Because, and he's going like, that's what the reality is. That's what our exit polls are. And are you going to attract my voters? And are you going to deal with their issues? They're getting crushed with debt. There's no path forward. There's no economy for them to enter into.
Yeah.
Listen, it's like I hired an administrative assistant,
Yes.
right? Recently.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. She has a bachelor's in psychology. Now, hold on a second.
Psychology.
Now, wait. Now, here's the point of that story. I shouldn't be able to hire her. She should be in and taking her degree and getting into a spot, but there's no spot for her where her career is supposed to take her.
Yeah.
Now, there's nothing. She's lucky to be here because I'm in the business of psychology and language, right?
Right.
So she's happy. She's happy where she is because she's getting advanced languaging skills, right?
Right.
About how to talk through people and their issues that she never got in school. She's going, Bill, I never got this stuff in school. I never got this stuff in school. I go like, yeah, you're kind of lucky to be here. She's working at the wrong spot as administrator. She's not supposed to be in the administrative position. She's supposed to be in the entry level to be a psychologist position, a social worker position. That's where she belongs. She don't belong in this slot. This is the best she has in this economy because there's no job for her coming out of college.
Even with our economy being so strong and unemployment at a record low, it's just her field doesn't have many jobs.
At the unemployment, it's not matching her skill set. It's like when my daughter had some problems with in 2008 is 2009, 2010, 2010, when she was in college, she couldn't get a work study job because the seniors during the crash of the real estate market, there were no jobs. So they squatted in her job.
Wow.
They squatted in her job. So they were supposed to graduate, get their degree, leave the job in the college town and go get some. They couldn't. There's no jobs out there.
Right.
It was crushed. There was no entry-level position. So now my daughter's self-worth took a ding because, Dad, I can't find a job. I keep going back to all these different places and they say they're not hiring. And I was thinking to myself, oh my God, what's going on here? What's going on here? Is it her? Is it her? And the answer was no, it was not. So I had to pull her out of college and bring her home.
Wow.
Why? There's no jobs there. The college town got crushed.
Yep.
So here she would have finished a 4-year degree. Now she's out of that with almost a 2-year degree. And then all of a sudden she found her way back, but now she's, now in a better space anyways. But that's one of the problems with truth, Tom, is that it's really, really hard to do scary honesty. It's really hard when leaders put the party message ahead of facts, and don't really look and be able to run the marathon, which is government, and not the sprint, which is capitalism.
Right.
They're different races. And you've got somebody that thinks they can brand and market a sprint for government. That's not its function. Its function is stability. So its function is not, like optimal growth at the expense of the poorest people ever, or immigrants. That's not what the function is. It's like you're not even paying attention to what system you're in, and he isn't. And that's where it really is problematic.
Okay.
Next time,
I look forward to it, Bill.
We're gonna have a debate to talk over.
Yes, and I think that'll be a great one. Now we're down to 2 people. We can have a pretty deep discussion about that and compare and contrast the 2.
That's correct. All right, Tom. Have a good one. Thanks
thanks
everybody.
Thank you for listening to this Purchasing Truth podcast. We trust that you have enjoyed this engaging and thought-provoking conversation. Our hope is that you've received value, found clarity, and broadened your truth perspective in this episode. If you did, leave us a review or visit our website, purchasingtruth.com. Join us again for another informative and content-rich discussion here at the Purchasing Truth Podcast. Don't just accept whatever information comes your way. Join the discussion. Discover your own voice. Purchase your own truth.